We're gonna continue doing things. We're gonna continue doing recreation programming just for fun. You know, as usual, because it's fun. This is really fun to program, actually. We're kind of starting to forget all of that. Especially with all of the bullshit that we have to deal in the industry, right? So, because programming this day, like commercial programming this day, is just like dealing with a lot of artificial complexity that has nothing to do with the problem that you're solving, right? So configuring the web build, it's like the thing. Here's an interesting thing, like JavaScript is a dynamic language, right? And having a build step for a dynamic language already sounds like oxymoron. Like, that's kind of the point of a dynamic language, that shouldn't have any build steps or anything like that. It's just like, yeah, you have the lack of static typing of a scripting language, and you have the build step of a statically typed language. You literally have the worst of both worlds. How does that fucking make any sense? Like, imagine that. Like, how does that make any fucking sense? And all of that is completely arbitrary, completely artificial. It's just like, and people are paid huge amount of money just to deal with that, because nobody wants to deal with that. Tell me about that. My joy is killing my programming. I wonder if the industry is actually gonna kill itself this way, right? Because it created an environment where people don't enjoy programming, so people will just stop programming, and the industry will just, you know, destroy itself. But at the same time, maybe the idea is that not to have any programmers, right? So maybe we're gonna be replaced by things like, you know, Codex. I mean, the model behind the GitHub Copilot. But for what I saw, those models do not particularly program well. But what's funny, here's another thing. Nobody expects software to work in 2022. Right? So the way programming is going to be automated is the quality, the expectation of the software are going to be put so low, you will be able to create software by a random number generator, and everyone's going to be fine with that. Because nobody expects this shit to work anyway. Just roll a dice. And that's basically what we're doing with all this AI model anyway. Right, because like, imagine like program actually working without restart or anything like that. Like, you cannot imagine that. Like, that's too expensive. Right, imagine writing a program that doesn't crash after using for 5 minutes. Just like, look, what kind of an expert do we need to have? Like, holy shit, we cannot afford such experts. No. Let's just like use a random number generator to just like generate a bunch of bullshit, and which we're gonna restart every time it crashes. So, so I don't quite understand what's gonna be the end goal for using AI in programming. So the probably end goal is gonna be that like anyone without even programming experience is gonna be able to tell the computer, okay, do that thing, and the computer will just do that thing. Alright. So essentially we need a translator from a human language to a computer language. But what's interesting is that any programmer will tell you that the manager, right, or the product owner, project owner, whatever the fuck they call them these days, they require you something, and you can clearly see that they have no idea what they're talking about. This situation is not going to change if you replace programmer with AI. All of the people responsible for the decisions are not going to magically know and understand what needs to be done. if anything, this situation may get even worse. But anyway, I don't care. I don't program for money anyway. I program as a recreational activity. I program for the same reason people play chess, even though chess is already automated. So there are AIs that are better than chess, but people still play chess. Why do they do that? There's a reason why they do that. And I program for the same reason. For the same reason people still play chess. They might get to see why what they are saying make no sense without being able to blame developers. And by the way, that could be the last job security we're going to have. Imagine, like, this is so weird. Imagine, like, developers are never gonna lose their job because the managers will always need a scapegoat. Holy fucking shit, it is so funny and sad at the same time. Wow, that's an interesting thought, actually. Because, yeah, again, if they get rid of the developers, they basically become developers. You're replacing like a very formal, standardized, strict language with an informal, with non-deterministic compiler. Right? So, and now you don't have anyone to blame for it. Alright, that's it for the day. Thanks everyone who watched me right now. Really appreciate it. Have a good one, and I see you in the next recreational programming session.